Thanks for coming, everyone. I'm going to be the first talk today. Peter will be the next. Who am I? I'm a founder of a startup called Contember. We basically generate web apps through with the help of AI. And what I want to show you today is basically how to use all these AI APIs to do something pretty cool or amazing. Before I begin, a quick question: who here has some experience playing with either OpenAI APIs or something else? Okay, some people. Okay, about half of you. Okay, cool. So if some things would be like too basic, just boo at me or something like that. I'm happy to turn this into a conversation. This shouldn't be like me talking, you listening. So let's leave some place for comments, your experiences, and discussions. So let's jump right into it. Basically, what I will try to answer today is whether we can replace the whole quite complicated process of what is, and this projector is quite bad, so you can't see anything. What is, taking an idea and turning into a software, which basically involves a lot of people, UX designers, front-end developers, back-end developers, ops people, etc. So can we replace this whole process with AI? Or especially with generative AI, which we have available today. So this I will try to answer during the call, during the talk, and let's see where it goes, okay? So just what we do actually is that we've got some tool we call AI Studio. You can try it on our website. You basically describe the first version of your web app, currently something databased. And you can generate it. I'm gonna be switching between demos, so I'm just gonna use it right away. Hopefully it won't blow up. So this is our tool. Basically what I want to do is to let's build an app for management of PragueJS meetup. I won't give it more details. It probably will generate something that might not or might be actually useful for guys here who are organizing this. So and we will go into details how it actually goes. So you can't read anything, okay? So I wrote, let's build an app for management of PragueJS meetup. And it returned some text here of what it will build and what it can't build, chose some event type, etc. I could define some roles for different people, etc. That's not super interesting, and this is the fun part. This is where the AI now puts the data schema of your projects together. Obviously, you can't read anything, so I'm gonna have to comment that. So there's at the beginning there's a presentation. It has a speaker and a meetup. Meetup is the big card down there. It has a date, which is good. It has a name. It has a venue. It has some sponsors. Pretty good, actually. Obviously, these are sponsors. So I've got sponsors here. I've got the speakers here. They've got bio, name, etc. And I've got a venue. It looks pretty good, actually. I could ask for, changes like, please add Twitter link to speaker. And it should add a speaker. It should add a Twitter link to speaker, which it did. It's here. You can't read it. Sorry. And when I would go further, which I don't have time for at the moment, it would deploy the app to our cloud and build some pretty basic CRUD interface in React, which you can download or put in your GitHub account and continue from there. And in about 2 weeks, hopefully, you will be able to make the first modifications of the user interface right here. So that's our tool. Another one which is fun, and I actually never used it until today. So let's try that. You probably heard of V0 from Vercel. Who knows Vercel here? Okay, most of people. It's a front-end cloud, they call it at the moment, and they did this. Maybe I'm not sure if it's a product at the right now or not. That they started charging for that, so maybe. Basically, they're taking the problem from the other side. You know, we're taking it from the data schema, turning it into some administration and GraphQL API and all sorts of stuff. They're doing just the visual components, you know. So, for example, I wanna speakers. Speaker, I don't know, box for a meetup site. So basically what you describe is what you want to build, and they start building that. So it's a live demo. As I mentioned, I never used it before because they were, for so long, they were in private beta, you know, that everyone was super exciting, and when they started sending more invites, everyone we just talked with Peter okay, what's the use case here? So we shall see. But anyway, okay, this is what it generated. You can switch to code. There's some Tailwind and React, and you could ask for some changes to this. So, for example, let's make the speaker box centered with a nice box shadow. So let's see what we'll do. It actually added here the first iteration and trying to do something. Okay, it's a box. It has a nice box shadow. There are all these components, pretty good. And I could iterate on and on, and then grab a code, copy it to my code base, version it, use it in projects. So this is V0, and let's go back to the presentation. And through the presentation, I'll try to explain how we arrive at what I shown you in our demo and how V0 works from what we know of these guys, because there's some open source versions, etc. Pretty much works quite the same. So just to so by the way, if this is like the interface that you will get from our generation, and let's go to back to the presentation from the demos. So everyone's talking about that AI can do some programming. Everyone tried that in ChatGPT, wrote some small functions. It sometimes worked, sometimes not. What my colleague Jiří is saying is that AI is actually like a baby with Alzheimer's, so it doesn't remember much and does a lot of mistakes. So when you try to do like a bigger software, you quickly arrive at a lot of troubles that you basically can't solve. And through the presentation, I will show some ways to solve some of them, but basically you're working around those limitations of generative pre-trained transformers, which basically are generating the next token based on some mathematics and don't think for themselves, though we could probably argue about that with GPT-4. So when you take that, okay, what can you do? You know, I think everyone who played with it knows this. AI or generative AI currently is API. Almost nobody trains their own models. It's super expensive. Very few people fine-tune models, which is taking a already trained model and basically making it better for some certain use case. But there's very few people does that. So almost everyone is using like these big models, and mostly from OpenAI because the API is most available. And when you want to work with that, you can basically just, it's super unreadable, right? Okay. So basically, you say it, hey, I've got here some question or some task or whatever, and the assistant will reply to me. You've got these like roles, which currently we've got system, which is like the basically system settings. If you use that with GPT-4, it very much keeps the structure, which will be important later on. You've got the user, which is obviously when you're using ChatGPT, it's you, and you've got the assistant, which is the AI. Actually, this example is pretty bad, and it's from standard documentation of OpenAI, because we're actually asking a question which is about knowledge. You know, the model itself doesn't have any knowledge; it just predicts the next token. Token is like some part of the word. So if people are asking ChatGPT some questions about knowledge, it can hallucinate or lie or whatever, just generate tokens that doesn't mean anything or are complete randos. So beware of that when you try to build your application. But otherwise, it's this easy, and you could probably build a version or build some first, assistant or text completion to your app in 30 minutes with the basic React or Node knowledge. And Peter will tell you what you need to do that. But I mentioned OpenAI. There's a lot of other people doing models that you can use. These are probably the most popular. Anthropic, which differs. I think I would say they're like number 2 in the current let's say model features or capabilities. Their main feature, I think, is that they have a very huge context, about 100K tokens. So it's super interesting for summarization of documents, etc. But their API is quite hard to access. Ask Peter later. He has some tip how to access that. I forgot that. Meta, which is Facebook, they've actually, I think you heard of Llama, which is like, it's like open source, open code model. Actually interesting right now is that Cloudflare about 3 weeks ago announced that 2 weeks ago that you can use it through Cloudflare workers. So it made using Llama way more accessible. So if you're using Cloudflare, you can try this model very easy. Google has obviously a lot of models. Mistral is a new French startup. It's probably the only company based in EU, and they released like 3 weeks ago a very small 7 billion parameters model. Which one interesting thing about it is that it's not like correct, all these big models are basically trained to be correct and don't help you with the task that might be offensive or whatever. Mistral isn't, so that I think the model, because of that, might have a lot of interesting usage, because the training is problematic for some use cases. And there's Replit. If you don't know Replit, I recommend to follow this startup. They're pretty big already, and what they have is like a competitor to GitHub Copilot. They call it Ghostwriter, maybe they renamed it, but they run it actually on their own model, which is very small, like 1.5 billion parameters, and they release it for free. So you can instead of Copilot, you can use it for free. And obviously you can do a lot of fun stuff with the model. So, but let's go back to what we do with the models, because that's what I know the best. How we use the GPT, and we're using GPT-4 from OpenAI, is basically we're using it as a translator from human speech to some sort of a structure, which sounds quite easy. And when we started this journey, it was December last year, December, Christmas, beginning of January. We thought, okay, we need a structured language that we can generate through the model, which doesn't have a lot of tokens, and we will use that. So YAML is the obvious answer. So we designed some sort of a YAML structure that we instructed through the system prompt, the GPT to use, and it started returning us the structure of the application. It worked not really well. Fortunately, GPT-4 came in March, and it worked way better with GPT-4. So we were still like going forward. This is the way. Let's do that. So at the end, with YAML, we actually went to Product Hunt in July. We generated like 1,500 apps with YAML, and we have about 70% success rate of actually returning like the correct YAML that we can parse and use. With some retries, because you can parse it, return the error to the API. We arrived at something like 92% success rate. So when was a good weekend and people were trying our tool, everyone was sitting at their computers, and waiting for the message at Slack like something broke, and we had to go in, fix the YAML manually, because about after 3 retries, it didn't make sense to send more errors and asking for the correction. It never corrected. So after 3 retries, we said like, okay, stop. We have to handle this manually. And we were at this point, and we were like, okay, this doesn't scale. We actually like sometimes want to have a free weekend, right? So OpenAI functions, which is like a different way to work with the API. You basically define the JSON structure that you want to have it returned, and I actually never saw a case when it didn't hold the structure. So let's say in 100% cases, it works. Well, our issue, by the way, how that works, it's a good thing. Here's like the basic demo. So you define basically what you want your answer to be, and then you obviously send the message, what's the weather like in Boston, and it will parse it and return just put the correct, and I can read it here, just put the correct value at the correct place, which I don't see at the moment. Never mind. But basically, this is the functions. Our issue with that was that we had like about 4 to 5 minutes per generation of the JSON. So imagine when I was using our application generating the first structure. You come in, you type the prompt, and you go for coffee, returning. You're still waiting. And then, obviously, there's something wrong with, for example, in our case, apart from the structure, we've got all these links through entities. So there's one has many has many, etc. Database stuff. And this is actually something that the model can do wrong as well. So when something is wrong here, you have to restart that and start again. So you got 10 to 15 minutes per app. So completely unusable. And we were like, okay, shit, what are we gonna do? Should we close down or how to proceed. And then my colleague David had like this genius idea, you know. Okay, let's design some domain-specific language, and I'm gonna show it to you how it actually works today. And I just need to read. Okay, we've got like a super secret Control Shift E. Hopefully, it Control Shift.
Then it's not secret anymore.
Yeah, never mind. It doesn't work anyway, so I will try a few stuff. Maybe you guys changed it actually. Maybe someone figured that out. This is not the correct. This is not the correct structure. Okay, I don't know. Never mind. So I'm gonna have to write it here. It basically is something like add entity XYZ, and then there's obviously connect user from and the good thing about it is that you actually can parse and apply the layers. It works pretty similar to the database migrations. So when some line doesn't work well, you can either skip it or just try to retry that line. So when we were at this page where it generated the structure, and there were always new stuff coming in as I was explaining. It was the lines of DSL, being generated and streamed through from the OpenAI. And when generated it all, then we start allowing the changes. But the change actually generates only the edit lines of DSL, so we can apply just those, for example, 1, 2, 3 lines, and doesn't have to regenerate the whole application, because when you would have like the solid YAML or JSON, doesn't matter, you would have to redo the whole process again and run into some probability of making a mistake. Yes.
Just a question, yeah. So before you used the JSON, so you had to tell the model, like, this is the structure, you have to give it back. And then you designed a domain-specific language. You also taught that to the model. It follows.
We are teaching all this stuff through the system prompt. With GPT-4, it's very good at keeping the structure. So it's not like 100%, but it's about 90%. So with DSL, it's super okay. With YAML, it wasn't that good, etc. But the system prompt is like a hack for when you want structure from the OpenAI, and the system prompt is the way to go, especially with GPT-4. With GPT 3.5, it's a bit more complicated because it doesn't respect the system prompt as much. At least in March, April, when we play with that. From that, we were using GPT-4. We were lucky enough to have access quite early. So that.
And by the way, why do you think that the JSON was so slow comparing to the other?
Well, we believe that on the background, OpenAI is doing the same stuff that we made with YAML. So it returns incorrect JSON, so they return the error to the model and restart it. They don't have like a specifically trained version for that. It's pretty much the same, probably with how they rename the code interpreter. It's some advanced analysis thing, so it's probably pretty much the same, and they're starting using some agent system internally in their ChatGPT application. So okay, but let's go to more fun stuff. I actually at FrontCon in Brno, I was showing this application because I did not have access to V0. It's like it's the same but from some startup guys, and it generates actually more ugly components, at least from my experience. But doesn't matter how actually either V0 or these guys arrive at something, because they actually have to generate code. We don't, we take the DSL and through that, through standard code generation, we can generate the application. But they actually have to generate some sort of code. So basically what they're doing is they're using something called embeddings, which is basically, taking some parts of either text or, in this case, components from some well-known component library, indexing to a vector database. And then when someone types in, I want to have a data table with filters, they search through the vector database, find the correct component, and use it as the basis of what they're trying to generate. And on that, they apply standard GPT-4 mostly to make very small changes in very specific places. So that's basically the whole hack around doing something like that. It works quite well for small components when you keep within the context of the model. Everyone knows what the context is. Sorry, is there someone? Should I explain context, or are you good? Okay, so basically the generative pre-trained transformers, which is what we mostly use today, have like two main components. One or keyword that we should know. One is token, which is like the stuff that it generates. So it always tries to generate the next token. I think you could imagine it as a syllable or something like that. And another is context, which is how much tokens actually the model can hold in his memory together. So the most used model has currently 4K tokens, or 4,000 tokens, which is something like, I think, about 3,000 words, which is not that much. Obviously, programming languages can use more tokens because every parenthesis or something like that is a token itself. So you can get rid of tokens super quickly. And they don't have any long-term memory. So if you're out of context, the model just knows its basic training, and that's it. Nothing from the history actually remains. So what, for example, ChatGPT is doing when you're chatting there, and when you run out of context, they're actually making summaries of the previous stuff. So you could squeeze it together and still keep within the context. And basically embeddings is a way around that, because you can take the prompt from user, find some very specific thing in a database. Peter will have different example with Czech law in his presentation, so he can show you that with basically non-coding stuff. So that's that. And the third probably part is speed, because different model has different speed of generation, and you have to take that basically in mind when you're figuring out how to make some good experience for your users. So this is a very horrific slide. So basically with embeddings, this is what I described. On the first Prague Generative AI meetup, which I, by the way, recommend, it's happening in the same space here. The next one will be on... We don't know yet. Okay. I think there should be one more before the end of the year, right? Okay. So anyway, a great place to go when you like all this stuff. But anyway, there was a good demo by Slovak guys who were trying to design a way to help users address some lawyer stuff through generative AI. And what they were using, okay, user asked us how far away a wall can be from my neighbor. So we will find the correct paragraphs in the law. There can be like 3 or 4 about that. We will take these paragraphs and which I'm here talking about component, which is the previous stuff. We will prompt the GPT with these. Okay, here are 4 paragraphs. Here's what the user is asking for. Please formulate the answer. So basically, it will return the result. And they did a very smart thing, which I loved, and why I'm mentioning it, is that they actually had real lawyers, write the answers, and they had about a few hundred of what the user asked and what the lawyer wrote, and they took the result of the GPT and the result of the lawyer, calculated the embeddings on those to match the paragraphs in law. And if these two matched, so the lawyer and the GPT were mentioning the same paragraphs in law, they were marking it as a correct answer. So I think, and this allowed them to quite quickly try different approaches with prompting, and I won't talk about that as Peter will, and have basically understanding whether they're going in a good direction, because the real lawyer is always right, at least in their case, or they're doing something that they shouldn't be, because the answers differ a lot. So that's that. Do I have 5 more minutes? Okay, cool. The last thing that's like the hype at the moment are AI agents. I've got only this slide because I have no idea how to make some images around that. AI agent is one, let's say, I don't know. A user, let's say, or it's GPT, you ask it for some task, to actually make something, and it basically generates like the plan what to do, and then generates tasks for other agents to solve those. So agent system, basically agents are, or GPT is asking other GPT to do stuff. And these GPTs returning to the original thread is the word I wanted, the original thread, the answer, and because of that you can solve some more complicated stuff. It's very interesting to keep an eye on. I actually haven't seen any good working agent in real life. Everything is it almost works quite well, but it's not ready to go to production, because the probabilities of something going wrong is way bigger than with these basically one-threaded applications. And I think we will have to wait for the next GPT model, which will come who knows where. Currently, we've got from GPT-4, there wasn't some big model published. There's a lot of open source stuff in space, but we're basically waiting for the next step. Shall see what that will be. Okay, so that you can answer this for yourself. And we can answer it over beer after the talk, and that's it from me. Thank you, and shoot questions, and there's going to be a quiet...
First, thank you very much for your presentation. Big applause for Honza.
Thank you.
Now we have time for a few questions, if you have any. I actually have one.
Yeah.
How much it costs in average to generate something through Contember? Like how many tokens it consumes?
Not that much, because you can, basically you can iterate here. So it differs how much you're iterating. We've actually got one client in US that like iterating all the time. So he's doing stuff that have 30 entities, but the average is about half a dollar per application.
That's good. That's very easy.
Yeah, and it's basically using GPT-4 for most stuff. So like the most advanced and most expensive model. So we don't worry about cost at the moment that much. Yeah.
That sounds pretty low for the product. Can you offer a better trade-off, which you can take $3 and give a 6-time more stable product?
We haven't figured out that more tokens would mean better result. So we don't need more tokens at the moment. Basically, where we're going with the product is that you actually, the tool that we're building should be, and our users are telling us that it is used for creating like the first version, either to talk about with your client, show to your colleagues, etc. And what you describe at the beginning is most likely not what you want, because it's too broad to so you have to iterate. So we're building all these like iteration part there. So the cost of each application will differ a lot based on all these iterations that you will make. Yeah.
You consider asking several chatbots and have a solution that can select the best answer?
It doesn't differ that much. If I take the same prompt, the difference is not interesting, and basically difference is what you have more important is what you had in mind when you were writing the prompt. So I don't think that having 8 versions generated would help anything, at least from our experience. Yeah.
Aren't you worried that the big players will come to the place?
Sorry?
Aren't you worried that the big players like Microsoft and all of these companies, this is the big place for them?
Everyone will obviously try to do this stuff. I think it will come down to who they are targeting and how and who they are helpful for, and what you actually can do with the result. So in our case, you can take the code and run it on your own servers and do whatever you want to. Probably won't be the case with Microsoft or anyone. When we started that in January, we thought like, okay, in 4 months there's going to be like 15 versions of this. There's still like nothing that I would want to mention, not because they would be better, but because it would be at least a bit helpful. Maybe one thing is that guys from Croatia, they're doing this Wasplank, and they built like prompt to the first version of their Wasp language frame. It's a language, it's not a framework. So that's interesting, but they don't allow you to iterate, which I find that then you have to go to code too early, and therefore you don't find that much value in that. But definitely worth checking out if this is something that interests you. You have a question? Yeah.
No.
Okay, no worries. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So now we will have like 10 minutes break. Make it
To hodně to blbej ten projektor.
Je úplně na piču ten projektor. Jakože, jako nejhorší ještě je, že jak stojíš tady, otočíš se na to